Hey, econ warriors. It's your boy, the boss of economics, back to slap some sense into the madness of today's financial dumpster fire. If you're an average Joe worried about your bank account or a Wall Street hotshot pretending you've got it all figured out, buckle up, because today, we're diving into the tariff tantrum that's turning global trade into a clown show, courtesy of Uncle Sam's brilliant mismanagement. Let's expose the chaos, roast the culprits, and figure out why your grocery bill looks like a mortgage payment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. Folks, let's start with Jim Tuckler, a Chicago area retailer who's basically living the American dream, if the American dream is a Kafkaesque nightmare where you're playing Russian roulette with your business. Jim's e-commerce site just dropped $80,000 on stockings from China, but thanks to Donald Trump's tariff roulette, he's sweating bullets wondering if that bill might balloon to $200,000. How does one plan a business this way? Jim asks. Spoiler alert, Jim, you don't. You just pray, cry, and hope the Fed doesn't make it worse. Now, scale that up to the big leagues, and you've got Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, staring at the same crystal ball, except it's cracked, foggy, and probably cursed. If businesses like Jim's can't predict their input costs or tax rates on exports, how on earth is the Fed supposed to forecast the economy's trajectory? Higher tariffs could spike inflation, squeezing consumers until they're eating ramen for dinner. Meanwhile, retaliation from other countries could hammer output, hiring, and investment. It's a perfect storm of economic stupidity, and guess who's steering the ship? Yep, the government, or, more specifically, Trump's strategic uncertainty doctrine, which is just a fancy way of saying, we have no idea what we're doing, but let's pretend it's genius. Let's talk about this strategic uncertainty nonsense, shall we? Trump's Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is out here calling it a brilliant tactic, keeping counterparties in the dark to secure better trade deals. Oh, really, Scott? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a toddler throwing a tantrum in a china shop, smashing everything in sight, and then claiming it's art. This isn't strategy, it's chaos. And it's not just me saying it, the data backs it up. According to a 2025 report from the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBR, U.S. businesses have slashed capital expenditures by 15% since the tariff wars escalated in 2024, citing unpredictable trade policy as the number one reason. Meanwhile, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce estimates that Trump's tariffs have already cost American consumers $125 billion in higher prices since 2018, with another $50 billion projected for 2025 if the 10% baseline tariff sticks. That's right, folks, you're paying more for everything from stockings to semiconductors, all because the government thinks uncertainty is a strategy. And let's not forget the global fallout. The World Trade Organization, WTO, reported in April 2025 that global trade volumes are projected to shrink by 3.2% this year, the worst contraction since the 2008 financial crisis, largely due to US-led trade disruptions. China, the EU, and Canada have already retaliated with their own tariffs, hitting US exports hard. Just look at American soybean farmers, exports to China have plummeted 40% since 2018, per the US Department of Agriculture, costing farmers billions. But hey, at least Trump's strategy is keeping things uncertain, right? Now, let's zoom in on the Federal Reserve, because if Jim Tuckler's sweating, Jerome Powell's probably popping antacids like candy. The Fed's job is to set interest rates based on economic forecasts, but how do you forecast anything when the government's trade policy is a glorified game of whack-a-mole? Higher tariffs could drive inflation up. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, has already ticked up 0.8% in Q1 2025, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics, with tariffs cited as a key driver. But at the same time, the economic slowdown from trade wars could tank growth, with Goldman Sachs now projecting US GDP growth at a measly 1.5% for 2025, down from 2.3% in 2024. So, what's Powell supposed to do? Raise rates to fight inflation and risk choking the economy, or cut rates to boost growth and risk runaway prices? It's a lose-lose, and the Fed's latest minutes from April 2025 show they're just as clueless as the rest of us, leaning on scenario analysis to cover their tracks. Translation, we're making it up as we go, folks. And here's the kicker, Trump and Bessent are out here bullying the Fed to cut rates ASAP, with market expectations for a June 2025 cut creeping higher. But JP Morgan's Michael Hansen, a senior economist, says the smart money is on September 2025, when tariff-driven inflation might start to cool and the labor market could weaken. Notice the word might, because thanks to Trump's trade war, nobody knows anything for sure. As Hansen puts it, it's not immediately clear what the ultimate outcome is going to be. Gee, thanks, Captain Obvious. Tell that to Jim Tuckler, who's got $200,000 on the line. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because this isn't just about Jim's stockings or Powell's migraines, it's about the entire global trade system getting a sledgehammer to the face. For decades after World War II, world trade was all about creating order out of chaos. The WTO, with its 160-plus members, set rules to harmonize tariffs, promote comparative advantage, and open markets. As Alan William Wolf, former deputy director of the WTO, puts it, the whole idea behind trade negotiations is certainty, not uncertainty. But Trump? Nah, he's out here treating trade deals like a reality TV show, where the drama is the point. Just look at the latest developments. On May 4, 2025, Trump teased that trade deals with some countries could drop as early as this week, but refused to name names. Vice President J.D. Vance then hinted at a deal with India, but come on, does anyone actually believe this administration has a coherent plan? Citibank's global chief economist, Nathan Sheets, nails it when he asks, to what extent are they putting on tariffs to take off tariffs? Spoiler alert, there's no grand strategy here, just a bunch of guys winging it and hoping it looks tough on TV. And even if deals happen, don't expect the fog to lift. Morgan Stanley's Seth Carpenter warns that one or two deals is not going to remove the relevant uncertainty. Deals need to be durable, not just photo ops. But durability? Ha! Trump's already signaled that the 10% baseline tariff, slapped on a month ago, is here to stay, along with duties on metals, cars, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and lumber. So much for free trade, huh? Now, let's bring this home, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Jim Tuckler or Jerome Powell, it's about you, the average person, getting screwed by government incompetence. The Peterson Institute for International Economics estimates that Trump's tariffs could cost the average American household $2,600 per year in higher prices by the end of 2025. That's not just stockings, folks, it's your groceries, your electronics, your car parts, you name it. And for what? So Trump can flex on Twitter, X, and claim he's winning at trade. Meanwhile, the broader economy is teetering on the edge of recession. The Conference Board's leading economic index has been flashing red for 6 months straight, with a 60% probability of a U.S. recession by Q3 2025, per their latest report. Businesses like United Airlines are so spooked they're issuing two profit outlooks, one for stability, one for a trade war-induced downturn. Even the Bank of Canada, our polite neighbors to the north, is hedging its bets, publishing two sets of forecasts in April 2025 to capture the chaos. So, what's the takeaway, econ warriors? This tariff tantrum isn't just a policy blunder, it's a masterclass in government mismanagement, courtesy of an administration that prioritizes optics over outcomes. Trump's strategic uncertainty isn't outsmarting China or the EU, it's outsmarting American businesses, consumers, and the Fed, leaving everyone in a fog of chaos. And the data doesn't lie, from shrinking trade volumes to soaring consumer prices to a looming recession, the evidence is overwhelming, this approach is a disaster. But hey, don't take my word for it. Just ask Jim Tuckler, who's rolling the dice on his business because waiting for clarity isn't an option. Or ask Jerome Powell, who's stuck playing economic whack-a-mole with a blindfold on. Or ask yourself, the next time you're shelling out an extra $50 for a pair of sneakers, is this what winning looks like? Folks, this is Boss Economics World, where we call out the clowns and break down the chaos. The government's trade policy isn't just failing, it's actively tanking the economy, and you're the one paying the price. So, what do? Demand better. Demand clarity. And demand leaders who understand that strategy isn't a synonym for stupidity. That's all for today, econ warriors. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's tired of getting screwed by bad policy. Drop your thoughts in the comments, are tariffs helping or hurting? And as always, keep fighting the good fight, because if we don't hold these clowns accountable, who will? This is your boy, the boss of economics, signing off. Until next time, stay sharp and stay woke.